All right, all right. Hello out there, awesome radio family. Thank you for joining us on 107.5 FM and 1570 AM WECU every Tuesday, when from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. This show, I'm so excited. I'm a holiday girl. Christmas is my favorite, but Thanksgiving is second. And this is that Thanksgiving show. And of course, you see these divas, those that can see us on social media, those that can't, you will hear their voices very soon and say, they sound familiar. Why? They were so nice, we had to do it twice. Okay. So I wanted them to come back for a Thanksgiving edition. But anyway, let's get ready to get right into the show. Here is a thoughtful Thanksgiving quote that should resonate with our K-12 educators, students, and families. Gratitude turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. And that quote is by Melody Betty. So I hope I said their name correct. So let's go ahead and get ready to dive on in. Are you guys ready to learn, engage, and inspire? If so, you are at the right space, place, and time for the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show. I'm your host for the next 50 minutes, Tonitia Langley, education enthusiast, thought leader, founder, and education consultant and coach. I'm so excited each week to partner with you with this thing called education. I'm the host, but you and the community mean the most. I would love for you to share your suggestions of what you would love to get more information related to K-12 education. So if you want to join in on this fun that we always have here on the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show, email us your brain teasers, your K-12 topics that you would like for us to expound on at Let's Talk K-12 Education at gmail.com. So, on last week's show, we explored the topic culturally responsive teaching, helping teachers with their content with none other than Miss Losha Brooks. And we provided tons of information regarding the topic. If you would like a recap of those tools and resources for that show and any other previous Let's Talk K-12 education show, catch us on the replay and comment hashtag replay by heading over to Facebook. You're going to find Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. And again, look for the purple and green logo. And you can also catch us on the big old YouTube University. So head on over to YouTube at www.youtube.com at Awesome Radio WECU. And again, look for that beautiful purple and green logo. So, as a former educator and classroom teacher from a traditional school setting and current education consultant and coach, my goal is to use this platform as an unbiased show to educate and provide information as it pertains to educating our future. That's the goal of the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show, to let others know that in the challenging educational landscape, there is light that pierces the darkness, and there are educators working in the trenches, stakeholders, and educational thought leaders like myself and these ladies that you see before us or hear before us, partnering to close the gap of the school to prison pipeline with tenacity, grit, and grind while providing hope. So here's a thought provoker with our topic today, which is called Thankful and Thoughtful Behavior Management, K-12 Home for the Thanksgiving Holidays. So here is a thankful and thoughtful behavior management provoker. As we approach the Thanksgiving break, let's pause and consider, how can we foster a spirit of gratitude and self-awareness in our students, even in the midst of everyday challenges? Imagine if our classrooms were places where gratitude guided our actions, shaping our words, choices, and responses to each other. What would it look like if each of us, educators and students alike, took a moment each day to express thanks, not just for big things, but for small kindness, growth, and resilience. This holiday season, let's commit to creating classroom cultures that values kindness, respect, and empathy. So when we come back from break, how can we encourage students to bring thankfulness into their behavior choices, helping them understand that a thoughtful action can be just as impactful as a thoughtful word? Gratitude can be the bridge that turns our classrooms into true communities. You know, I'm going to go ahead and hop right on into um, the segment of when I want you guys to chime and check in, right?
Mhm.
So of course, I'm going to introduce you, but I just feel led to let's do the chime and check in with that thought provoker as it pertains to gratitude, thoughtfulness, Thanksgiving, leading into Thanksgiving break, coming back from Thanksgiving break. I want you ladies, I'm even going to forego our brain teaser today. What for the how is your how is your brain game segment? And I want to just, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, go ahead and get you guys to chime and check in. So whoever wants to jump in first on that thought provoker regarding Thanksgiving.
I guess I can go first. Thank you again for having me on your radio show. I am so honored. So Thanksgiving for me, when I think of overall,
Mm-hmm.
is about family.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I think is going to be a lot different for
Yes.
some, right? We
Mm-hmm.
just had this election
Mm-hmm.
that has caused a lot of pain,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of thoughts. Like when we talk about thoughts and gratitude and
Mm-hmm.
appreciation, I think there's a lot of people thinking about what that looks like moving forward, probably for the
Mm-hmm.
next 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I say that as a therapist because I've been meeting with families since even before the election. And, they're talking about all the anxiety that
Mm-hmm.
it has brought to
Mm-hmm.
the family. Now, fast forward, the election has taken place, it has happened. And I have a lot of families that, including myself, right, as the
Mm-hmm.
professional, who had to step back
Yes.
a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And say, how am I feeling? So when I talk about gratitude, I think most of all my family, my colleagues,
Nice.
for being there for
Yes.
each other.
Mm-hmm.
Even you two ladies, for
Thank
just
you.
that question. Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about gratitude for the holidays.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because family, the holidays for me is about family. I know there's these, people talk about the pagan holidays, but
Right.
for me it's about getting together with my family
Yes. Yes.
and just loving on one another.
Yes.
And that was most important, and that stemmed from my family. It's a tradition from generation to generation. We come from the South,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all we had was
Yes.
each other.
That's right.
So gratification for me is everything. And I brought up the election because there's going to be a lot of families, right, that were
Mm-hmm.
affected by,
Right.
that will not be spending time with their families because of differences.
That's right. That's
And
true.
so I think it's important for us to step back and think about and be grateful for who we have, because we are going to have to depend on those same people.
Back to basics.
Back
Back
to
to basics.
basics.
Back to basics.
That's where we're going. Back to
Thank you
basics.
so much, Threetha, for framing that around what a lot of us are feeling for various reasons. And then frame it around, we got to bring it back to what we do have control over and what we're thankful for.
Absolutely.
So thank
Mhm.
you so very much. Tiffany,
Thank you.
share at least one of your favorite Thanksgiving moments, a Thanksgiving tradition, or wrap it around the Thanksgiving thought provoker that I shared earlier.
So definitely for me, this is my favorite time of the year. Everyone in
Mhm.
my family
Me
knows,
too.
like, I'm so ready.
Mhm.
November 1st comes, I'm like,
Yes.
somebody turn on Christmas music or something. But
Mhm.
it's just that this time of the year just brings special feelings and emotions because my family is a big family.
Mhm.
Yes.
And we are always together. So when we do Thanksgiving, it's like these are memories that my kids remember. We
Mhm.
tried to switch something up one year and it was not met well. Okay.
Mhm.
No, they
Mhm.
Yeah.
protested. It was a
Yeah.
protest.
Yes. Yes.
But when you say back to basics,
Mhm.
that's exactly what we have to do. And we have to rely on one another, no matter our differences. And I think what helps my family and my children as far as differences is because both sides of my family, we have two separate religions, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so how do you come together? You put aside differences,
Right.
Absolutely.
True.
and you celebrate being with each other, whether one side
Mhm.
celebrates holidays or not. We
That's
Mhm.
still
true.
have to eat at
Mhm.
the end of the
Right.
day.
At the end of the
Mhm.
day.
um your purpose for being there could be your purpose. I know
Mhm.
my mom's purpose is gonna be a prayer happening.
Mhm.
So we just keep that, and we keep each other in mind that
Mhm.
we are here to be grateful,
Mhm.
because not everyone makes it to the day with
That's
each
true.
Mhm.
other.
That's
Mhm.
true.
We have
Mhm.
lost several family members in the last few years. And
Mm.
so being super grateful for each moment that we have, whether it's
Yes.
a Sunday dinner or a big Thanksgiving dinner, we will
Mhm.
not let anything divide that time.
Yeah.
Thank
So I think
you.
just continuously being grateful and
Mhm.
thankful that you get a second opportunity, or
That's
you get an
true.
Absolutely.
opportunity each
Mhm.
day
That's
to
true.
do something to help others and be grateful.
Mhm.
That's true. So this is
Yeah.
we're starting this off. We're starting this off already. Wonderful. This is truly thankful and thoughtful behavior management. So let's go ahead and get right into these lovely ladies that you are hearing and seeing on this awesome radio network. So let me go back. So let me introduce you again to my awesome and talented guests that will add great information, tools, and resources in this thankful and thoughtful behavior management Thanksgiving, the second series, the second edition. So these names and faces will look and sound familiar. They were guests on the November 5th, November the 5th show in the Art of Behavior Management, a masterclass show. There was so much information around the topic that we didn't even cover during that show
Yeah.
that I asked, and they agreed to come back and delve further into the topic. And what better way to bring these wonderful women back as we delve into thankful and thoughtful behavior management. So let me go ahead and read those bios again. Miss Threetha Green is a licensed professional counselor and psychotherapist. Threetha has over 30 years of experience serving families in the greater New Haven area. She's worked with trauma exposed families and children facing challenges in both school and the judicial system. Known for her advocacy in special education and her dedication to ensuring families understand their rights. Threetha has also spoken on panels about PTSD, health disparities, and the impact of COVID-19. Beyond her clinical work, she's an active community leader with local organizations. We talked a little bit about that because she had on this banging red dress. Miss Threetha. So welcome you back around this conversation, but instead of just talking about behavior management, we're going to be thankful and thoughtful. Let me
Mhm.
get to my recurring. You know, she's a bad mama jamma. I done had her on my show as this many times, and on my
Oh.
team. Tiffany Proctor brings 24 years of experience in education to the table, specializing in school counseling, behavior management, MTSS, and adult education. Tiffany has dedicated her career to empowering students and educators alike. Her expertise and passion for making a difference in the lives of others truly make her a leader in the field. Miss Tiffany, thank you for the 900,760th time for coming back as a thought leader on the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show. Thank you for coming back again.
You're more than welcome. It is my pleasure.
Thank you so very much. So before we get into the break, we got about 4 minutes. I'm going to kind of talk about the goal, which is to explore the challenges and opportunities for collaboration between families and schools and addressing student behavior, especially when there is a break in routine. We're getting ready to head to Thanksgiving break. Some of the things that we talked about in the last show, some of the students are having facing challenges and don't have the rosy peak home that we came from, or there are circumstances and situations that will prevent them from even enjoying the Thanksgiving holiday season. So we're going to kind of tackle it from the standpoint of some of the obstacles and barriers that these students may face, and leading up to the holidays can be very triggering. And we're hoping to provide the community with a paradigm shift in being thankful and thoughtful as it pertains to behavior management, as you may see these children that have challenges in your neighborhood. So we're hoping with this show not only to usher in the Thanksgiving season, but the K-12 staff and educators that are home for the holidays, and some of these students that are home for the holidays for the Thanksgiving break. So some of the objectives are discuss the various factors that can contribute to behavior problems in children, examine strategies that families and schools can implement together to address these challenges, highlight the benefits of collaboration. We just touched on it last time. We're going to delve a little bit further in this second edition. Emphasize the positive impact of strong partnerships between families and schools on student outcomes. Offer practical advice and resources for families and educators seeking guidance on behavior management. And will continue to foster a sense of community and collaboration among parents, teachers, and other stakeholders as we are gearing up for this K-12 Thanksgiving holiday and a break in routine for these students.
Yes.
Now, I do have a couple of AI suggestions, but I just want to we got about 2 minutes before the break, and I'll come back to that. But just generally speaking, if you all can provide examples of how maybe you have prepared some of those families heading into the holidays, of some things to do, or maybe even spoken with educators or stakeholders, just very quickly before we head to the break. We got about 2 minutes.
Okay, I could go if you want me to.
Thank you.
Working with students and even their families, looking at what was done in the classroom and being consistent with that as best possible. When you're breaking routine, of course, you can't do everything that we're doing in the classroom. You can't replicate at your home, but you can take some of those strategies and kind of keep the routine as consistent as possible, especially for students who rely on that routine.
Yes.
You're already breaking it by having that break, and sometimes parents get really relaxed and they don't do the bedtime. They forget the good, bad chart, the green, red chart, or the if-then chart.
Don't give them their medication.
They take drug holidays because, they're the doctors. But it's just keeping consistent with routines as much as possible and helping them transition. And I would tell parents that it will make it easier because they're going to be home with you all day, the whole week. No breaks. You can't call me. You can't come over to my house. You have to work through this, because as a young teacher, I remember getting calls and emails like, and what do I do now with this time out? She's not listening. I'm like, you have to do it again and sit her down and sit there and be very calm with yourself, be patient and do that countdown and give that direction. So consistency for me is going to be the biggest thing to help during this break.
Thank you, Tiffany. We're going to let you finish that on the other side of the break. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will continue with Thankful and Thoughtful Behavior Management K-12 Home for Thanksgiving edition. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show on Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM and 1570. We'll see you back on the other side of this short break. Welcome back, Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. You can find us here talking about all things education every Tuesday when 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Where on the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show. You want to find us? Go on over to Facebook and look for Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. What with the beautiful purple and green? I like green. And then you can go to YouTube and find us over there at www.youtube.com at Awesome Radio WECU. Again, look for the beautiful purple and green logo. Have some suggestions. You want to get all up in Let's Talk K-12 Education's business? I want you to. You have some topics or discussions that you would like to know about? Email us at Let's Talk K-12 Education at gmail.com. So before we continue with our Thankful and Thoughtful Behavior Management K-12 Home for Thanksgiving edition with Tiffany, let me highlight the background and the identified problem from a documented case study from Lincoln Elementary per AI University. So this is a case study about Lincoln Elementary School located in a diverse suburban community, serves approximately 500 students from kindergarten through fifth grade. Over the past few years, the school faced significant challenges related to student behavior, including frequent disruptions, increased disciplinary referrals, and a noticeable decline in overall classroom engagement. Teachers reported feeling overwhelmed and unsupported in managing these behaviors, leading to a stressful teaching environment and negatively impacting student learning outcomes. And those are the things that have the teachers put their pocketbook and their little work bag on and be like, I'll be back after break. Don't come back. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to identify those problems. I'm going to circle back to this case study, but I'm just going to touch real briefly on it, and I'm going to let Tiffany pick it up with so in this 2022-2023 academic school year, Lincoln Elementary conducted an internal review to assess the root causes of these behavior issues. So some of the key findings were lack of consistent behavior policies, limited professional development, insufficient student support, and negative classroom environment. I will not enhance those. Tiffany, you know how to do your thing. You can touch on any 1, 2, 3, or 4 of those before we have 7 minutes to head to break.
Now, that just read like, let's walk in the door and let's sit down. Let's talk leadership.
I do. I just don't have my coffee, but I'm ready.
No, when I hear those things, and then I'm so glad that you didn't just say the case study, but what they found to be root causes. But it's deeper than that. Those are surface root causes. What was the history prior, and how did we get here to this breakdown? So it could sometimes be a new admin team, some new policies coming into effect. So I always want to know, before I start tackling something, what has happened to cause this? Yes, we're post-COVID, but we're post-COVID, right? So are we laxed in this? Do we not have enough training? I always go to those. I look at the numbers and see where the behavior is occurring. Like, what is happening with this breakdown? But when you say that the root causes could be a lack of like good classroom climate, where is that coming from? Because teachers can set the tone for your classroom. But if you don't feel supported, then you're not going to be able to do that. And you have to have an admin team that truly 100% supports the teachers and making the entire school environment something that's warm and welcoming. And then you can start tackling the disruptive behaviors and where are you finding out those things are happening? Is it central to a grade level? So those things, I'm really, really like, kind of school is that? Where is it? Let's go visit,
Right,
Tanisha.
right, 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 right.
No, but
Exactly.
definitely, all of those talking points to me are
Mm-hmm.
something that really causes the teachers that breakdown to leave, or even students don't want to be
That's
at a
true.
school site
That's true.
because of those things. And
That's
if that
true.
continues, then it just will be that cycle, and students will be mislabeled
Yep. Yep.
due to the environment. So a really good quote is like, when a flower doesn't bloom, we change the environment in which it grows.
That's true.
But when
It's
we think of students, we don't. With students, we're changing that person. Or with
that's
people, I need
true.
to
That's
change
so true.
Tiffany. I need to change the way she behaves. I need to
Mm-hmm.
change this. But you have not looked at my environment to
Mm-hmm.
even say, is this a healthy environment in which to grow? But a
That's true.
plant, you would take the dirt out. You would sit it in front of the sunlight. You would change the water. You
Mm-hmm.
might go buy some alkaline water. I don't know.
You
But
are
you're gonna do
preaching, Tiff.
everything to get those things to grow. And when we see students who are struggling deeply, we tend to not look at the environment. We tend to react to that behavior. That's the reactive part. But instead of looking at, is the AC too loud? Right?
Right.
That triggers some
It's
students.
true. Yes, it
Can
does.
you hear that clock ticking? Is the teacher upset and that's causing the mood of the
Mm-hmm.
class to be down?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times I've spoken to students and it's like, oh, my teacher's sad today. Well, we're human, but that should not be something that you carry the burden of,
That's
because
true.
you may have to do that at home. So helping educators realize that school is a safe space for most of our
Yes.
students. And when
Mm-hmm.
we talk to them about Thanksgiving and being thoughtful and
Yes.
thankful, we have to also
Yes.
consider the environment in which
Mhm.
they are in,
That's
Mm-hmm.
true.
and do as much as we possibly can to instill some
Absolutely.
things into them that they can maybe share with
Mm-hmm.
families. I've had families mention things that I've said in class, and I'm like, come on, Tiffany, I said that.
Mm-hmm.
When I said, because I forgot I
Yeah.
said that.
Like,
But
oh, I was smart that day.
right.
Yes.
This girl had coffee today. But it is because it's something that you don't pretend to be. This is how
Mm-hmm.
you are, and you're showing genuine love
Yeah.
and care,
That's true.
even for students who may be difficult to do that
Mm-hmm.
with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's my piece. That's 10 minutes.
That is good.
That was good
Tiffany,
stuff.
Tharetha, before we got about 2 minutes before we head to break, did you want to elaborate around those contexts? And thank you so much, Tiffany, for always bringing in those real practical things that a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
who maybe not have had that experience to
Mm-hmm.
understand that
Mm-hmm.
behavior can be triggered because they're looking at the clock or listening to things.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much. And this is good for our listening and viewing
Mm-hmm.
community, for them to also, you're planning that thought process into them.
Mm-hmm.
So when little
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, Jack, Janie, or Jeremiah is coming home and they're mentioning these things, you are planting the seed, Tiffany, to say, these are some probing questions that I can ask. They're not silly at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're spot on. So thank
Yeah.
you for that.
You're
Um,
welcome. You're
so
welcome. A
that yeah,
big
that
question too, Tanisha. A big
mhm.
question is, can you see and can you hear?
There we go. And
Before I
sometimes
start
they
Mm-hmm.
doing
can't
all this
either.
fabulous behavior planning, you
That's
first should be able to see a
Absolutely.
teacher
Absolutely.
mhm.
or hear.
We've discovered that, and nobody really knew the babies couldn't see, couldn't hear,
Mm-hmm.
until
Mm-hmm.
until we kept
Mm-hmm.
looking like, are they making weird gestures in your class, and come to
Mm-hmm.
find out
Mm-hmm.
that's what it
Mm-hmm.
is. So yeah, that's very practical.
Yes, yes.
That is so beautiful as we think about being thankful and thoughtful with behavior management, as
Absolutely.
these educators gear up to go on Thanksgiving break, as
Mm-hmm.
these students are going home in their environments. And I'm hoping that we're able to provide our radio listener audience that may have challenges with students and their behaviors. I'm hoping that we can give them something to be a little thankful and thoughtful for, as
Absolutely.
pertains to behavior management. So we got about 50 seconds. I'm gonna go ahead and take us into break, Threetha, because you're like this. Let me get some. Let me get some.
Double Dutch.
You can get some
I'm
after break.
patient. I'm patient. That's the one thing I've learned.
Like this, like I'm jump. You know, double
It was so good.
So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue with thankful and thoughtful behavior management K-12 home for Thanksgiving edition. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Let's Talk K-12 Education Show on Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM, where we make education everyone's business. We'll be right back after this short message where we'll get Miss Threetha to come in and give us some thankful and thoughtful behavior management. We'll see you back after this short break. Welcome back to Awesome Radio 107.5 FM and 1570 AM WECU, where we are promoting educational equity for the families in our listening and viewing community. So I'm the host, but you in the community mean the most. Please email us your K-12 educational suggestions or topic ideas at let's talk K-12 education at gmail.com. So before the break, Tiffany went on and dropped some boulders, some gems, some diamonds, some rubies, some Tom Ford, some all kinds of stuff that she dropped. And Miss Threetha was over there like, let me get like we was playing double dutch. Like, so let me get in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn the rope. And Miss Threetha, you go ahead and jump in with this and continue our thankful and thoughtful behavior management K-12 home for Thanksgiving edition. So you can go ahead. You can jump on in.
Well, I think what Tiffany said was right on point. I think one, consistency is going to be key. Mm-hmm. So what I'm experiencing as the therapist who is a stakeholder, and also the kids, the parents are calling me, right?
Yes.
Johnny got to come in because he's been acting up in school. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why. And then I take them back and I say, you know what? It was today. Today is November 13th. They're tired. Right? We all tired. The teachers are tired. The administration is tired. Mm-hmm. We all need a break right now. Mm-hmm. And so some of these behaviors we see is because, you know what, some are excited that they're going to get this break, but then there's others that are not, right? Mm-hmm. There are others where school is their safe haven.
That's true.
And so they get to school in the morning, they eat their breakfast, they have lunch, they have that go-to person when mom is at work or something else is happening. Mm-hmm. You know, that's their safe haven. So, you know, like you said, Tiffany, we're in post-COVID, right? Yeah. But no one has been normal. And I'll use the word normal and I'll get back to that, what I feel is normal. We have not been normal.
No.
It's pre-COVID.
No.
And so I see teachers, they're coming in for therapy because the anxiety of just, you know, being home all that time away from the classroom. Mm-hmm. But there was another situation where they had to teach from home. They had their own families, right? Now you're trying to teach children that really are not. They weren't catching it and getting it when they were in person.
That's true.
So now you got to try to teach the same child that has ADHD or some other, you know, challenges via Zoom, right? So how do we do that without dealing with our own stuff? And so now we're back in school. Everybody has a lot of anxiety around returning back. Mm-hmm. And I know we've been back to school probably more than a year, but things haven't changed. They're still the same old, because the reality of it is people are still getting sick from COVID. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
Families have been affected, whether parents have been out of work, people are homeless now, right? There's a lot of homelessness.
Yes.
And food. People can't afford to eat. So
Mm-hmm.
now, fast forward, in 2 weeks, we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving.
True.
So those same kids that depend on the breakfast, the
Mm-hmm.
lunch,
Mm-hmm.
the safety net, right?
Mm-hmm. Their
Because
village, their school village.
these are things that they're thinking about. We might not think they're thinking about it, but and
they are.
sometimes they might not even know they're thinking about it, but their little bodies are telling them
That's true.
that there's something getting ready to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so even as the educators, we got to pick up on that. We have to pick up on what do we do for our children. And I'm always grateful because we talked about being grateful. I tried being a teacher. It was not my forte.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for
It is not for
everybody. So
That's
kudos to those teachers. But they also are still going through stuff that no one else is talking about, right? We are in a place and time where all we're doing is catering to the social and emotional piece. We can't even, the teachers can't teach in the classroom because there's not enough time.
True.
When you have 20 some odd kids in a classroom and
heavy curriculum,
all these behaviors, right? The different curriculums that people came up with. So
Tiffany, did you like how she just politically correctly did that? I see. It's okay, Threetha. It's okay. You was trying to do your thing, sweetheart, but that's okay.
You did well. You did well. Did better than me.
And so when we go back and we think about it, we as the adult, we do think about Johnny that's sitting over there, and we're wondering, what type of holiday is he going to have? Is he going to have enough food for the next couple of days that he's not in school? Where will he be eating at?
Right.
That Thanksgiving dinner, that Christmas, waking up to toys. So the great thing about where I live at in New Haven, Connecticut, is such the resources that we have here are out of this world. You could go to probably every organization and somebody's going to have a food basket for you.
Wow.
And the teachers, the one thing about the system here, they make sure that the students leave with a bag. So whether you can afford the food or not, you will leave with a bag of food. So those are the great things. And some places don't have that, So when we talk about grateful, I have to say where I live at, there in the churches, oh my God, I won't even talk about what the churches do here. So, but once again, the student is the one that hopefully benefits from it.
Hopefully. That is real. I love, Threetha, how when we're talking about thankful and thoughtful behavior management, what are some key things that these students may be feeling that may even cause them to act out? I also love the fact that you're getting our radio listeners and viewers, for those that may be, and there are a lot of people, trust you me, even two working household families right now, there are a lot of people experiencing some financial hardships. That's why this show is so special to me, being thankful and thoughtful behavior management. But you also giving the parents saying that there are resources available, or tap into your school system, or like our church, they're doing certain things, for the holidays, for Thanksgiving, for those that have a need. So I think what I can gather, and I just have to push on this a little further, Threetha and Tiffany, is that I'm hoping that these families will find a way to know that they can still be thankful and thoughtful, and that we're providing them some tips. I'm going to give a few tips, yet segues beautifully, Threetha, into, I'm just going to talk about some key takeaways for educators, hopefully that our radio listening audience and our viewers will take heed to. So number one, gratitude is a behavior foundation. Encouraging students to express gratitude can improve classroom behavior by fostering kindness, respect, and positive interactions. When students practice thankfulness, they're more likely to approach peers and challenges with empathy and patience. We talked about that, the thoughts and feelings and regulations and things of that nature. So, example, have students, and this is something that our radio listening families can do it at home, have students start or end the day by sharing one thing they're thankful for about school, friends, or family. This habit can carry into their home lives during the Thanksgiving break. That's something we started at the top of the show, giving us something that you're thankful for, giving a tradition. Number 2, teach thoughtfulness as a skill. Uh, Thoughtfulness isn't just an attitude, it's a skill that can be taught and reinforced. When students are guided to reflect before they react, and I had to work on that myself. They learn to manage their yes, they learn to manage their emotions better, improving overall behavior and conflict resolution. So, how can they do this at home and being thankful and thoughtful behavior management for the Thanksgiving holidays? They can role play common situations where students can practice pausing to think about how their words or actions impact others, and exercise that parents can reinforce at home over the break. Something really, really simple.
Yes.
I have a few more, but I want to get you guys' perspective as counselors and therapists. What you think about those takeaways and those key takeaways for educators, and some things that the educators can do leading into Thanksgiving, and even when after Thanksgiving break, and some things that the families can do at home. So give me your chime and check in, Tiffany, as a counselor.
I think those are all are really good activities in class, and those activities and districts that I've worked for are embedded into like that mental health time, social emotional time, where you embed it into your day, you embed it into lessons, so it doesn't seem like it's something that's separate that you're trying to force or teach someone to be a way in which they may not know about. But these are strategies that we know work in the world of work. They
Yes.
work in society when you are grateful and you have some interpersonal skills, intrapersonal skills. You have the ability to form relationships, to form them and maintain them. Those
Yes.
are the things that help you be successful in society, right? And so
Right.
those practices that teachers are doing, thoughtfulness, journaling and different things like that, that helps students. If they don't see it at all, it kind of helps them see something outside of themselves. And if it's a practice that they are used to, it just helps
It does.
broaden their skills and widen like what they know and how they can transfer that to other people. It's so good when you hear students who have been taught and they can teach it, or in a way in which it can be a simple math problem, and then they'll say something like, "That's interesting. Tell me how you got that answer," rather than "What?
Right,
You
right, right,
can't
right,
count."
right.
It's a big difference. When you enter a classroom, when the teacher has made that a priority to embed that into a way of being, the class flows very differently. The scores are higher for students, whether it's test or assignment. And the culture is awesome. Like you can walk in and the students kind of can guide you on that journey, because that think before you act is all of us. Like we all had to say, if I do this, then maybe I won't work here today. Maybe I won't work here anymore.
I know, absolutely.
Have to take a step
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Teaching your students that impulse control, like teaching them, like I always say, you have those few seconds to decide what you're gonna do. Everyone has it. Are you listening to it? If you're not listening to it, you might not get your buck. But if you're listening to it, you're gonna take a step back and say, you know what? No, I can do this instead.
We say thankful and thoughtful behavior.
Yeah.
so as when we were on station break, and and Tiffany, that you said that C word, which is my favorite, which is culture, climate and culture. During the station break, we had some discussion, and we talked about some things that they're very sensitive as far as the different types of educators that will come into unique uh classroom settings. It can go both ways. It can go, hey, I'm not used to low socio, or hey, I'm not used to high socio. So I think a good framework around what Tiffany was saying when it pertains to being thankful and thoughtful behavior management, building that culture. Threetha, as a therapist dealing in the K-12 schools, what have you seen to be very helpful for some of those educators that may be a little shocked, little shocked when they come in and like, hey, I don't have I can't relate to this. So
I
how can
have,
you get around that?
So it's interesting, when we're having a conversation, because the reality of it is people don't pay attention, right?
That's true.
I'm always paying attention. I'm paying attention to see how people respond, because people can talk all day, but
That's
you're
true.
not listening. My husband has the saying, when you listen, but you're listening to respond, you're not getting anywhere, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I'm good for listening, watching, and seeing how people respond and stuff.
True.
And I've been in many classes. They're brand new teachers that's just graduated. They go straight into the school system, and the book says this is how you're supposed to do things, right? But I've also had to teach a lot of cultural stuff, because people go into this they get culture shock. I was culture shocked when I became a school-based clinician. I learned some things that I was shocked by, some of the things that I took for granted. And when I started working with students, and I started seeing how some students take care of their families, right?
That's true. They're
going to school. They're trying to be the first ones to graduate high school. And then they got to leave and go and take care of their families. That was an eye-opener for me. I took that for granted, right? I took for granted when I felt like my kids wasn't listening. And then I get in the classroom setting, I'm like, whoa, my kid ain't bad after all, right?
Exactly.
So when we were talking about that, the one thing that I did say, and I hold this true to my heart, is I try not to, let me say that, say what normal is, right? Because everybody has their own.
It snaps. That's true.
So what my normal is for me may not be your normal. And so when I'm working with clients sometimes, whether it's a medical diagnosis, mental health diagnosis, I always say to them, how are we going to adjust to the new norm?
I love it. I love
and
it.
If we don't learn to adjust to it, that's where we get stuck and bigger issues take place. And one of the things that I love what you were saying, Tonitia, was, how do we, look at a situation and not get ourselves into trouble? So I do a lot of mindfulness training with children and also with adults.
That's true.
Also with adults. I tell that adult it's okay, go take 10 minutes.
What do you say, Tiffany? Do I want to work today? Do I want a job? Man, I don't have to eat. I don't have to eat. I don't have to have hot running water. No.
Absolutely.
Do I want to work here?
We have to think about those things, right? And I say to them, okay, emotions should always probably be your last thing, but the reality of it is our emotions pretty much lead us. So what we have to do in this whole mindfulness stage is, okay, let me try to put my emotions to the side and get back to the reality of what's really happening. Is Johnny really having a bad day, or is it me having a bad day? And does this, all this look as what it seems? Because sometimes our perception is really
that is so true. Right? Being that being thankful and thoughtful behavior management. Listen, before we get ready to head to break, before we get ready to close out for today, there's a homeschool connection through family gratitude attitudes and gratitudes activities. And this used to be one that I used to do. And it is called creating a thankful jar where everyone contributes a note of gratitude each day leading up to Thanksgiving. This strengthens the home to school connection and supports character building at home. So not just being thankful and thoughtful, but for what you have and what your normal is. So I want to thank you both, to my special guest, Tiffany Proctor and Thretha, for sharing their insights and expertise. Your contributions truly brought depth to our conversation today. And so, oh my gosh. So don't forget, folks, it just makes me so excited that remember, if you have ideas for the show, email us. And on this thankful and thoughtful behavior management Thanksgiving edition, we hope that you're able to take some of these practical strategies, use them at home. So thank you for tuning in on today on Awesome Radio, WECU 107.5 FM and 1570 AM. And come back to see us next Tuesday at 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. right here on this radio dial. Until next week, thank you.